Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, your life just isn't moving forward? Like something's weighing you down, like there's a force holding you back right when you're about to take the next step. Maybe it's not a force. Maybe it's things you're dragging along, things that shouldn't be part of your life anymore. And the longer you take to let go of them, the more they'll start dragging you down instead. Before this year ends, there are decisions you can't keep putting off. In this video, I'm going to show you 12 things you need to eliminate from your life if you truly want to move forward with freedom, peace, and purpose in 2026. They're ideas, habits, relationships, even ways of thinking that weigh you down without you even noticing. But they're holding back your growth. And yes, letting go is hard at first. But the Stoics taught us that what comes next is clarity and lightness. Today you'll understand what you need to leave behind to feel in control of your life again. Let's go for it. But first, let me tell you the story of someone who managed to eliminate the bad habits from his life. Once upon a time, there was a young man named Aaron Kraskal, known around the world for his humorous videos and pranks that brought laughter to millions of people. But behind the cameras and the success, Aaron carried an invisible weight, a silent battle that few knew about, his struggle with alcoholism. Every night, after making others laugh, Aaron found himself alone, trapped in a cycle that seemed impossible to break. Alcohol had become his refuge, a habit that tied him down and pulled him away from the person he truly wanted to be. One day, everything changed. Aaron woke up, not just with a hangover from another night of excess, but with a soul-crushing sense of emptiness. He looked around and for the first time realized he was losing the most valuable things: his time, his health, and most importantly, his connection to the life he dreamed of having. How heartbreaking it must be to wake up and realize that everything precious is slipping away. Can you imagine that? At that moment, he decided it was time to break free from the habit that was destroying him. And it wasn't easy. With the determination of a warrior and the support of those who truly cared about him, Aaron began his journey to sobriety. He learned to observe his impulses and face them with courage, to replace his old habits with small practices that strengthened his mind and body. Gradually, day by day, Aaron transformed his pain into purpose, and the laughter that once hid his suffering became a true expression of joy. Today, Aaron has not only reclaimed his life, but has also inspired many others to believe in the possibility of a new beginning. What an incredible transformation. Doesn't it inspire you to think about everything you could change in your own life? His story reminds us that, even though bad habits might seem insurmountable, there's always a chance to leave behind what binds us and step into a life that is freer and more purposeful. And you? Do you feel trapped in your own negative habits? Can you imagine how your life would change if, like Aaron, you could turn them into something positive? Never underestimate the power of small changes. Let's start this journey together, Before we continue, if this content is bringing you value, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And tell us in the comments, what do you feel is stealing your calm lately? What emotion would you like to transform in silence? Or just write, "I am a Stoic. Today I start truly listening to myself." That will be your commitment to yourself. Lesson 1. Cut ties with the life others chose for you. My friend, be honest with yourself for a moment. Is this life you're living really the one you chose? The career, the job, even the small day-to-day decisions, are they truly yours? Or are you being steered by someone else's expectations? Sometimes, without realizing it, we're living out the plan others designed for us, like actors playing a role in someone else's script. And meanwhile, that inner silence starts to scream. Because sure, you can have everything in order on the outside, but if you're not listening to yourself, if you're not choosing for you, you'll never find the peace you're looking for. Let me tell you the story of Adam Neumann, the founder of WeWork. You've probably heard of him for building a shared office empire that skyrocketed and then came crashing down. But his real story is less known and far more valuable. Adam grew up in Israel, in an environment where it was expected he'd follow a traditional, serious path. Maybe take over a family business or hold a respectable role in society. He even studied at a military academy, not because he wanted to, but because it was what everyone expected of him. But something inside him didn't fit. After a few failed attempts at businesses that never felt truly his, he discovered what really sparked his passion: creating communities, spaces where people could feel connected, feel at home. That's how WeWork was born. At its core, it was about bringing people together, creating places where they could grow alongside one another. But with success came pressure, outside expectations, and Adam ended up trapped in the image of the billionaire entrepreneur that the world wanted to see. He lost his way, and when everything exploded, when WeWork fell apart, Adam did something most people never dare to do. He listened to his inner voice again. Today, he stepped away from the spotlight and from everyone else's expectations. He focuses on more human projects. He creates residential communities where people not only share space, but share real experiences. Adam understood what Epictetus once said: "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." And if Adam could look at your life today, my friend, if he could see that you're following a path you never truly chose, he'd ask you the same question: is this what you want, or is this what others decided for you? If you really want to find that peace we're searching for together in this video, you have to dare to quietly let go of the life that isn't yours. Here are 3 steps to get started. First, grab a pen and paper and write down the things you do just to please others. Be specific. Like those family dinners you always attend, even though they drain you. Or staying in that WhatsApp group that takes more energy than it gives just so you don't seem rude. And those drinks you have at night just so your friends won't call you boring? Write it all down, no filter. Then look at it straight on and ask yourself, if no one knew, if no one judged me, would I still be doing this? Second, gift yourself a moment just for you. Do something you love, even if it seems silly to everyone else. Watching bad movies in your pajamas on a Tuesday? Perfect. Learning to play an instrument even if you're off key? Go for it. These small acts of rebellion are the first steps toward living a life that sounds like you. And third, think about this. How long will I be dead afterward? I know it sounds harsh, but it's freeing. If you really think about that, are you going to keep living just to please others? Choose what makes you feel alive now. Those who think they'll live forever can keep the worries, the guilt, and the fear. You can't build peace while living in someone else's blueprint. Only when you start making decisions that carry your voice, your rhythm, your essence, that's when the silence stops hurting and starts healing. Lesson 2. Silence your inner critic. Why even bother trying? You're not good enough. Who do you think you are to believe you'll make it? Sound familiar? That's your inner critic, the voice that shows up at the worst moments, whispering doubts and limitations. Ugh, it's exhausting. It drains your energy and leaves you feeling too defeated to fight for what you really want. But listen, my friend, we all have that voice. No matter how confident we may seem on the outside, that critic is always lurking, waiting for any chance to tear us down. But you know what? It's a habit we can eliminate from our lives. Because letting that voice control us is what truly keeps us stuck. Many people think being stoic means feeling nothing, as if emotions just stop existing. But that's not true. Being stoic is actually about taking control of our emotions and thoughts, instead of being dragged around by them. It's about being the captain of our mind, guiding each reaction with wisdom and calm. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor, on the verge of making a crucial decision, saying to himself, "Do you really think you can handle this? You're not up to the task." What would happen? He'd be paralyzed by fear and unable to lead his empire. But lucky for him, and for us, Marcus Aurelius didn't listen to that voice. Instead, he reflected, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Yes, that's what he said, Marcus Aurelius himself. What does it mean? It means we get to decide how we interpret and respond to our inner dialogue. Now, picture this. You're about to present an important project to your bank, hoping for funding. It's something you've spent weeks, even months preparing with all your effort and dedication. But right when the moment comes, that inner voice starts shouting, "You're going to fail. You're not good enough. No one will take you seriously." You feel a cold sweat on your palms, your heart pounding so hard it feels like everyone can hear it, and your legs trembling like they're about to give out. You look at the bank managers and everything inside you screams to leave before you embarrass yourself. But what if, instead of listening to that voice, you could rewrite the script? What if, in that moment of panic, you had the power to silence the critic and reclaim your confidence? Let's see how to do it. First, challenge that voice. When it shows up with its harsh judgments, ask yourself, is this true? More often than not, our inner critic exaggerates. For instance, if you think, "I always fail at everything," stop and analyze, do you really fail at everything? Surely not. Replace it with something more realistic, like, "I've failed before, but I've also achieved great things when I've worked hard." Trust me, that shift in perspective is more powerful than it seems. Second, change the narrative. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, think about what you can learn. The next time your critic says, "You're not enough," respond with, "I'm learning, and each attempt brings me closer to where I want to be." It's a process, not a destination. The Stoics practiced this constantly. Seneca put it brilliantly. "A brave man is not one who defeats his enemies, but one who overcomes himself." Third, talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend. Think of someone you care about deeply, someone you always want to see succeed. Would you speak to them with the same harsh tone you use on yourself? Of course not. The next time you fail or feel insecure, imagine you're giving advice to your best friend. Use words of support and encouragement. Say things like, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'm here for you." It may seem simple, but this mental shift can transform how you feel. Now, reflect. Do you want to keep listening to that critic that makes you doubt your dreams? Or do you want to start changing that narrative and achieve everything you set your mind to? The choice is yours. Eliminate that destructive habit right now. And remember, every step you take in the right direction, no matter how small, is a step toward a freer, fuller life. Lesson 3. Don't negotiate with what's destroying you. How many times have you promised yourself that tomorrow you'll start to change? Tomorrow I'll stop procrastinating. Tomorrow I'll get off my phone. Tomorrow I'll start taking care of myself. And tell me, do you really think that's what Epictetus would have done? Keep putting off what matters as if he had eternity ahead of him? Of course not. But you, without even noticing, repeat that tomorrow so often that it turns into years. Bad habits have that kind of power. They disguise themselves as harmless little decisions, while slowly chaining you down until one day you realize you've spent half your life obeying them. The Stoics knew that there's no tyrant more dangerous than the one inside yourself. Epictetus put it clearly. No one is truly free unless they master themselves. And mastering yourself doesn't mean never feeling temptation. It means not kneeling before it. What's the point of trying to rule your life if you can't even rule your own impulses? Think of Robert Downey Jr. Before becoming the Marvel hero we all know, he was trapped in a cycle of excess and addiction. His talent was undeniable, but his habits were slowly destroying him. There came a point where it looked like everything was lost. Arrests, failed rehab, broken contracts. And yet he made a radical decision to stop negotiating with what was sinking him. He replaced old habits with new ones that gave him clarity and purpose, exercise, strict routines, and above all, discipline. He didn't make a big show of it. He did it quietly, step by step, and the results are clear. He didn't just rescue his career, he proved that even the heaviest chains can be broken. My friend, overcoming a bad habit isn't about brute force. It's about strategy. If every night you find yourself saying, "Just 5 more minutes of scrolling," and end up losing an hour, the problem isn't your phone, it's the lie you keep telling yourself. Bad habits feed on small excuses, on inner negotiations where you always end up losing. So how do you break the cycle? With firm decisions, even if no one notices. Decisions that seem tiny, like leaving your phone to charge far from your bed, but that are really acts of rebellion against your own self-saboteur. The same goes for procrastination. You say, "I'm not feeling it today, I'll do it tomorrow," and you put it off so much that the task becomes a monster in your head. The Stoics had a simple answer to this: start. It doesn't matter if it's just one small step. Marcus Aurelius had a phrase he used every morning: do what nature requires. In other words, get going. Because the one thing that truly feeds a bad habit is inaction. And here's the most liberating part. It's not just about cutting out what hurts you, it's about replacing it with what strengthens you. Robert Downey didn't just leave addiction behind, he filled that space with new habits. You can do the same. If your weakness is social media, swap 10 minutes of scrolling for 10 minutes of reading something that inspires you. If your escape is impulsive eating, try cooking something simple that makes you feel good instead of filling you with guilt. If your issue is poor sleep, start by turning off screens half an hour earlier. Don't wait to be perfect. You never will be. What matters is the steady, quiet movement that slowly shapes who you are. And don't forget, habits are contagious. If you surround yourself with people who normalize complaining, laziness, or lack of control, you'll end up picking up those habits without realizing it. But if you stay close to people who strive to grow, you'll absorb their discipline. The Stoics sought out virtuous people, not out of pride, but because they knew that every habit is either reinforced or broken by the company you keep. Ask yourself, what kind of influence do you want in your life? I know it's scary to think about changing a habit you've dragged around for years. It can feel impossible, but no. The real impossible thing is continuing to live chained without even realizing it. Every small action matters. Turning off your phone before bed, writing for 10 minutes instead of complaining, getting up as soon as the alarm rings. These are invisible victories that, when repeated, turn into freedom. Breaking a bad habit isn't a show, it's a quiet, personal effort, something only you can choose to do. No one will congratulate you for skipping another hour of scrolling. No one's giving you a medal for not opening that bag of fast food. But you will feel it. In your energy, in your mind, in your peace. And that's the greatest reward. Lesson 4. Stop postponing what you dream of. I'm going to give you the best advice you'll hear today for finding peace. Cut the excuses and stop postponing your dreams. Just like that, straight to the point. Because that's exactly what I did a few years ago, and I promise you, that's when everything started to change. I had this idea stashed away in a note on my phone. One of those things you write down in a flash of inspiration and then let gather digital dust. It was crazy, something I'd always wanted to do. Travel the world for a year. No strings attached, no schedules, just me and my backpack. But of course there was always a, when I have time, when I've saved more, when the moment's right. Well-disguised excuses. Until one day I realized I'd spent more years waiting than actually living. And my friend, let me tell you this. Life doesn't wait. That day I listened to a video from Thomas Frank. He shared a rule that lit a fire in me. Start badly. Just like that. Because waiting to do it perfectly is the best way to never do it at all. And I thought, all right then, I'm going to start badly. So, I bought the cheapest plane ticket I could find for 6 months down the road. Yep, 6 months. If I made it any sooner, I'd panic and cancel. And if I left it open-ended, I'd never go. So I locked that date in. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off, but I knew that if I waited to feel ready, I'd grow old waiting. The result? Not only did I travel that year, it turned out to be the lightest, freest, most peaceful year I'd ever lived. Because I stopped postponing what filled me up. I stopped drowning that dream in excuses. And for the first time, I felt like I was really living. My friend, I hope this helps you see that you need to quiet down and stop putting your dreams on hold. And Seneca says it best with this line: while we waste our time hesitating, life speeds by. And do you know what steals your peace more than anything? Putting off the things that give you life. Because that's where the balance lies, in moving toward what you desire, even if it's just in small steps, even if you don't have everything figured out. So let's silence those doubts you're carrying. How? First, don't wait any longer. Take one step today, even a tiny one. Don't worry, you don't have to cross the ocean tomorrow. But you can send that message, sign up for that course, say your idea out loud. Because when you name it, it starts to exist. Second, try the 2-minute rule. If there's something you can do right now that moves you closer to your dream, and it takes less than 2 minutes, do it. Open a document and write a title. Reach out to a contact. Pick a date. The action is small, but it breaks the chain that keeps you stuck. And most importantly, write your goal in the present tense. Imagine you want to start your own podcast. Don't say, "Someday I'll have a podcast." Say, "I'm recording an episode today with a special guest." Even if you don't have a microphone, a guest, or even a name for the show yet, this gives shape to what you want here and now. When you choose to move, when you decide to eliminate the waiting and step toward what you dream of, that's when peace starts to make space inside you. So let me ask you, what's that dream you've been putting off that, if you started today, would bring you closer to the calm you've been searching for? Here, you'll find the support you need. Because this community is full of people like you, people who've chosen to stop waiting and start building their peace, step by step, in silence, but together. Lesson 5. Don't be a slave to what you feel. Picture this, your favorite team is winning, just seconds left on the clock, and it looks like victory is in the bag. Suddenly the opponent scores and the game is lost. In an instant, your joy turns into frustration, anger, even sadness. And the strange thing is, nothing in your life has actually changed. You're still in the same house, with the same people, with the same opportunities. The only thing that shifted was an emotion that hit hard and dragged you like a wave. That's how powerful emotions are, and how untrained we are to deal with them. The Stoics faced the same storms, even though they didn't have sports matches, emails that ruin your day, or phones with no signal. All those little things that get under your skin today. But what can we learn from them? Marcus Aurelius wrote it clearly. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. See what he meant? Your life takes on the shade of whatever emotion you let run loose. If your mind is full of anger or fear, that's what you'll see everywhere. But if you learn to observe and regulate what you feel, then you can choose what color you want to paint your day with. And science backs this up. Psychologist Paul Ekman, who studied emotions for decades, discovered that they trigger in milliseconds before you've even had a chance to think. You can't stop them from showing up, but you can decide what to do with them after. That small pause between the impulse and the action, that's what determines whether you own your emotions or they own you. The Stoics already sensed this. It's not about repressing what you feel. It's about not letting it rule you. Let's bring it down to something simple. You're heating up food in the microwave, and there are 30 seconds left. You can't wait. You're already opening the door impatiently, like that half-minute is unbearable. Even the smallest things can spark emotion: anxiety, irritation, restlessness. The emotion itself isn't the problem. It's how you choose to act after. Because if you can't stay calm for 30 seconds, how do you expect to handle the bigger storms? Same goes for a negative comment on social media. Your first impulse is to fire back, defend yourself, strike back. That's the automatic trigger. But if you pause and ask, what do I gain by reacting like this? You'll probably find the answer is nothing. When you interrupt that impulse, the emotion loses power. Same thing at home. Your partner or a relative says something critical, and you feel the heat rising. That's the moment to train your mind. Breathe. Stay silent for a few seconds. Respond from calm, not from fire. It's not about suppressing yourself. It's about choosing. My friend, mastering your emotions doesn't mean you don't feel them. It means you don't let them grab the wheel. Think about the last time you raised your voice or said something you regretted. That wasn't you speaking. It was an unchecked emotion taking over the moment. When you quietly begin to eliminate those reactions, without making a scene, you start reclaiming your strength. The Stoic method to train this is simple but powerful. Observe your thoughts before you act. Don't try to shut them down, just watch them. like clouds passing across the sky. A cloud of anger, a cloud of fear, a cloud of desire. None of them stay forever. But if you chase after them, you miss the entire sky. You can practice this in daily life. Next time traffic gets under your skin, play music you love. Use it to finally listen to that podcast you've been putting off. Next time you're stuck in a long supermarket line, take a moment to look around instead of complaining. Next time rage starts boiling up, write it down on paper instead of throwing it at someone else. These are small gestures, but they're training. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you strengthen the muscle of your calm. Remember, not all emotions need to be eliminated. Many are valuable. Sadness connects you to what matters. Joy motivates you. Even anger can show you where injustice lives. The point is not to let any emotion become your master. You get to decide if an emotion is a messenger you'll listen to, or a boss you blindly obey. Quietly letting go of emotions that don't serve you isn't about running away from them. It's about giving them the size they actually deserve. And every time you manage to do that, you take one more step toward the calm, steady life the Stoics held dear. And if you want to mark that commitment here, write in the comments, "Today I choose to be the master of my emotions." It'll be your quiet promise that no matter what comes your way, you still hold the wheel. Sixth lesson, say goodbye to perfection. My friend, I have to confess something. There was a time when striving for perfection was a bad habit that ruled my life, not just at work, but in everything I did. If I hosted a dinner at home, I'd spend hours making sure every detail was flawless. If I planned a trip, I'd go over everything 1,000 times to avoid any possible mistake. Even my house had to be perfectly tidy, with not a single thing out of place. And if something went wrong, the stress would eat me up inside. The result was that my body finally said enough. I ended up with health problems, exhausted and out of energy. But that's when I learned a valuable lesson. Perfection is a disguised enemy. It makes us believe that everything has to be impeccable before we can enjoy it, but all it does is paralyze us and steal our joy. I realized that true strength lies in accepting that mistakes and small flaws are part of the journey, because people connect with our humanity, not with our perfect appearances. Since then, I stopped chasing perfection and started living with more freedom and authenticity. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop wasting time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for the empire to be perfect before making decisions. He ruled through wars, plagues, and chaos. But he didn't freeze up. He acted with what he had, never letting the idea of perfect conditions hold him back. My friend, perfectionism isn't as glamorous as it seems. According to psychologist Patricia Resick, living trapped in the pursuit of perfection destroys us from the inside. Think about it. We set impossible standards, and when we inevitably fail to meet them, spoiler, we almost never do, we beat ourselves up with harsh self-criticism. The result? Anxiety, stress, and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction no matter what. It's no joke, right? It's like living with an internal critic who never shuts up, always reminding us that we're never good enough. Don't you think it's time to break free from that toxic habit? Imagine you're hosting a family dinner at home. You want everything to be perfect, delicious food, a spotless house, every detail just right. You spend hours cleaning, preparing. But that quest for perfection leaves you so stressed that you can hardly enjoy the time with your family. How can you eliminate that bad habit from your life? First, focus on what's essential. Ask yourself, what's the most important thing about this gathering? It's not having the table perfectly set or every dish being gourmet. The essence is sharing moments with the people you care about. In the end, your family remembers the conversations and the laughter, not whether the tablecloth was perfectly ironed. Second, take the imperfect first step. Yes, you heard me. Sometimes what we need is simply to start, even if the meal isn't worthy of a 5-star restaurant. Cook what you know well, and don't stress if it's not perfect. The key is that you're creating memories, not perfection. And third, Learn to let go. After you've done your best, there comes a moment when you have to say, "This is enough." Enjoy the meal and the time with your family, even if things aren't flawless. Because in the end, what matters most is the time spent together, not everything being perfect. Believe me, letting go of that obsession is a relief and lets you focus on what truly matters: love and connection. Remember, my friend, better done than perfect. Move forward even if it's not perfect, because it's far better than staying stuck doing nothing. Get rid of this habit and discover the freedom that comes with accepting that not everything has to be flawless. True perfection lies in progress, and progress only happens when we take that first step. Just as we are, with what we have. Lesson 7. Eliminate the fear of being alone. I'm sure you've felt this before. You get home, close the door, and the first thing you do is turn on the TV, play some music, or open up social media. Like the silence is just too heavy. No, it's not a coincidence. Being alone with yourself in silence is sometimes more uncomfortable than standing in an elevator packed with strangers. And when you don't want to hear what's going on inside, you'll do anything to fill that void with noise. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I didn't know how to be alone. And I don't mean spending an afternoon at home without plans. I mean that feeling of needing someone with me at all times, even just to go grocery shopping. I'd hit up the supermarket and needed someone to come along. I made plans with friends every day, even when I didn't really feel like it. I thought I was super social, the one always organizing things. But no, my friend, that wasn't the reason. The truth was, I couldn't stand being alone with myself. Because in that silence, the insecurities I'd been covering up with noise started to show. The fear of not being enough, the doubts I'd been burying under distractions. And the strangest thing, the more I avoided being alone, the further I drifted from myself. I'm sharing this because I think it might help you too, because it wasn't something that changed overnight. No, my friend, learning to embrace solitude doesn't come with a manual. At first, I forced myself to do small things alone, even though it felt uncomfortable. Taking a walk without my phone, without headphones, sitting in a cafe and instead of staring at my screen, just looking out the window. I felt awkward, out of place. But little by little, that silence that used to feel so uncomfortable started to feel like home. And you know what happened? I discovered something. The more time I spent with myself, the less I needed to fill that space with others. If you really want to find the peace we've been talking about today, you've got to eliminate that need to run from yourself. Turning down the external noise isn't enough if you don't learn how to sit with the internal silence. As Ryan Holiday says, silence isn't something that needs to be filled. It's a sacred space where you can finally listen to yourself. But of course, you've got to be willing to stay there. Marcus Aurelius had this figured out, as if he knew that centuries later we'd still be doing the same thing, running from ourselves. He wrote it down, almost like a direct piece of advice for you and me. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. He knew, if you don't learn how to be with yourself, you'll end up filling your calendar with people, with activities, with plans, but never with you. And that, my friend, is like always having a house full of guests, but with the lights off inside. So now, my friend, I want to offer you something. The next time you feel that urge to seek company just so you're not alone, pause, stay, step outside, but step outside with yourself. Go to the movies alone, take a long walk, sit at a cafe, no phone, no distractions. Yeah, I know. It'll feel weird at first, like something's missing, but stay with it. Ride out that awkward pull. Because right past that discomfort, something deeper waits. Reconnection with yourself. What helped me too was changing the words I used. I stopped saying, "I'm alone," and started saying, "I'm spending time with myself." Sounds like nothing, but it's not. Changing your words changes your experience. Suddenly it wasn't a punishment. It was a gift. A moment just for me. And if you want to take it one step further, try this. Every time you're sitting quietly with yourself, ask, What do I need from me right now? Not to fix it on the spot, just to start really listening. Now you know. If you want to let go of that invisible weight keeping you from peace, start by stopping the escape from yourself. The fear of solitude isn't about being without others. It's about fearing what you'll find when you're with you. But when you dare to stay in that silence, you discover something. You've never been more accompanied. And in that moment, when you no longer need anyone else to fill your space, the noise dies down. And there, real peace begins. My friend, we've covered a lot, I know, but there's still one more thing left. And maybe this one is the trickiest of all, because it hides in the details, in the everyday moments, in the little things you let slide without noticing. If you don't eliminate this last one, everything else starts to lose its power. Let's go for it. Lesson 8. Let go of the guilt that weighs you down. Let me tell you a story. A group of travelers is making its way through a dense forest. They've been walking all day, and as night falls, they light a campfire. They gather around it, share food, tell stories, and the flames light up their tired but content faces. One by one, the travelers stand up and continue on their journey. The fire burns low, the embers cool, the flames complete their cycle. Everyone moves on, except one. One traveler stays behind, sitting there in front of the ashes. He stares at the dying embers, touches them, blows on them, trying to reignite the flames. He refuses to accept that the fire is out. He believes that if he stays there long enough, if he punishes himself a bit more, maybe the fire will return. But the forest waits. The path moves forward, and he stays stuck, trapped in what's already gone. That's what guilt is. Staying beside a fire that's already gone out, convinced that if you suffer enough, if you punish yourself a little more, maybe the flames will come back. But no, my friend, the flames won't return. The fire did its job and burned out. Now, the only thing left to do is move on. Think about it. How many times have you done the same to yourself? You stayed stuck beside a mistake, a failure, a word you shouldn't have said, going over it again and again, trying to relive something that can't be changed. Like that time you canceled on a friend because you were exhausted. And even though they told you it was fine, you carried that weight for days, as if that guilt could somehow fix it. Marcus Aurelius, who knew a thing or two about carrying responsibility, wrote, "Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight." If he could see you, my friend, sitting there blowing on the ashes of something long gone, he'd probably tell you, get up, keep moving. Life doesn't wait. And it's not just me saying this. Lori Gottlieb, psychotherapist and author of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, explains how many people get stuck in the past because they believe that letting go of guilt is like saying what happened was okay. But no, letting go of guilt isn't about forgiving the mistake. It's about accepting that it happened, learning from it, and moving forward. She suggests something simple but powerful. Close the cycle. How do you close it? First, write down what you did. Whatever it is that still weighs on you. Be honest, no sugarcoating. Second, write down what you learned from that experience. Even if it hurts, there's always a lesson. And third, write what you'll do differently if you find yourself in a similar situation again. When you're done, tear up that paper. That's it. It's a ritual to remind yourself that the fire has already served its purpose. Here's another powerful tool: reverse visualization. Imagine the worst thing that could happen if you let go of that guilt. What happens if you stop punishing yourself? Spoiler: nothing. The world keeps turning, the forest keeps growing, and you get to walk on a little lighter. One last step. Be grateful for the lesson, not for the mistake, but for what it taught you. Because believe it or not, everything you've been through has made you stronger, wiser. Guilt doesn't fix anything, it just repeats the pain. But when you let go of that stone, you realize something freeing. You could have walked lighter all along. You just hadn't given yourself permission. And when you choose to move on quietly, without fanfare, leaving that weight behind, peace finds its way back to you. Now tell us in the comments, What guilt are you ready to let go of today so you can walk lighter? This is a community that doesn't judge. We all carry stones in our backpacks, but here, together, we learn how to leave them behind. Ninth lesson: unplug, reclaim your attention. Picture this. It's a quiet afternoon at home. You're sitting on the couch, ready to enjoy some time with your family. Your kids are playing nearby, or maybe your partner is sharing something about their day. But instead of being truly present, you pull out your phone. Just for a minute, you think. And so it begins. Scrolling, liking, watching stories you won't even remember later. It's like your attention is a kite on a string drifting away from the present moment, while the people who matter most are right there, waiting for you to come back from the digital sky. 10, 20, 30 minutes pass, and by the time you realize it, those precious moments are gone, and you're still tethered to your phone, disconnected from the real world. Sound familiar? My friend, listen, I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, but because I know how easy it is to fall into that trap. I know how addictive social media is, how perfectly designed it is to steal our time without us noticing. But the question is, how much longer are we going to keep feeding that habit? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, had it right. Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the performance that matters. And believe me, social media is a master at robbing us of our performance. It makes us present in body only, but not in mind or heart. I've been there too. And so you don't repeat my mistake, let me tell you. Once we were at a family meal, and as usual, I was glued to my phone. I was so absorbed in answering emails and checking social media that I wasn't paying attention to what was happening around me. Suddenly, a loud noise and the cry of my child jolted me back to reality. He had fallen, and though it wasn't serious, the scare hit me hard. I felt guilty, full of regret for being so disconnected, so absent. I realized that while I was lost in the digital world, I had missed something important in the real one. That was the wake-up call I needed to make a change. So, what can we do to reconnect with what really matters and break this harmful habit of being absent? Here are 3 practical tips. First, create tech-free zones. It can be as simple as deciding that there will be no phones at the dinner table. Ask yourself, how many conversations have we missed because we were looking at a screen? If we're with family or friends, the phone can wait. This way, we create a space where real connection takes priority. Second, use airplane mode strategically. Before bed, put your phone in airplane mode and don't touch it until after your morning routine. It's a simple but effective trick. This way, you start and end your day in peace, without a flood of notifications invading your mind first thing. Trust me, you'll feel more in control and less scattered. And third, schedule screen-free time. Yes, put it on your calendar, just like you would for an important meeting. Dedicate time to read a book, exercise, or simply be present with your loved ones. For example, block off an hour in the evening to take a walk or read. You'll see how refreshing it is to disconnect from the virtual world and reconnect with real life. So, my friend, eliminate it now, that habit of being disconnected from what truly matters. Reconnect with the present and the people around you, because those moments are what make life truly worthwhile. Lesson 10. The past doesn't deserve rent-free space in your mind. You're in the shower, the water running, and suddenly your mind hits play on that awkward conversation from 3 years ago. Or you're walking calmly down the street and out of nowhere you remember in detail that embarrassing comment you made during a meeting. Even while washing dishes, your mind seems to have a special talent for digging up exactly what you wish you could forget. Strange, isn't it? Your body lives in the present, but your mind insists on torturing you with an endless archive of the past. The Stoics knew this form of torture well. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Man lives only in the present. Everything else is already gone or uncertain." For him, getting stuck in the past was as pointless as trying to stop a river with your hands. What's already happened belongs to the world of things outside your control. And the more you feed it, the stronger the chain that binds you becomes. My friend, you've probably been there at work or at home. You say something you regret, and even though the other person has already forgotten, you keep punishing yourself for days. Or you remember a mistake you made, and now every time you face something new, that memory becomes an invisible break. What if it happens again? The strange thing is, no one else is thinking about it. Only you are reliving it like it's happening all over again. The past becomes an annoying tenant in your mind, taking up space without paying a thing. Modern psychology confirms this too. When you relive a painful memory, your brain activates the same areas as when it actually happened. That's why you feel the same tightness in your stomach, the same shame, the same guilt. It's not that the past comes back. It's that you recreate it in the present. And there's the mistake. Beating yourself up over something that no longer exists is like arguing with your own shadow. Picture it like this. Holding on to the past is like having a phone full of old notifications. They don't do anything, they don't change your present, but they're still there, cluttering your space and distracting you every time you look. And here's the thing. You're the one choosing not to delete them. But the moment you quietly clear them away, everything becomes lighter. The screen looks clean, your mind breathes, and you refocus on what matters. Every time you release a useless memory, it's like clearing away a notification that no longer needed to be there. So how do you let go of that weight? There's no magic formula, but there are steps you can take. First, accept that the past cannot be changed. No matter how much you overthink it, there's no time machine to take you back. And here's the Stoic lesson. While you can't undo what was, you can choose what you do now. Every time your mind drags you back to that memory, remind yourself, this no longer depends on me. What does depend on me is how I act now. That short sentence is a powerful weapon against overthinking. Another key is self-forgiveness. Be honest. If your best friend had made that same mistake, would you beat them up over it every day? Of course not. You'd encourage them to move forward. So why are you so harsh with yourself? Forgiving yourself doesn't mean excusing what happened. It means stopping the punishment for something you can't change. Forgiveness is a way of reclaiming your strength. And don't forget to transform the energy. Every time you waste your focus on reliving the past, you're stealing that energy from the present. That same strength can be used for something that makes you grow. If the mistake was at work, channel that energy into improving your next project. If it was in a relationship, invest it in treating the people around you better today. It's not about forcing yourself to forget. It's about redirecting what you feel towards something meaningful. Your mind may still try to bring back memories again and again. That's normal. It's not about turning off your memory. It's about reminding yourself that those scenes have no real power over you anymore. The only thing that's real is what you're doing right now, in this very moment. The past doesn't deserve to keep living rent-free in your head. If you want peace, you need to change the locks and make room for the present. Do it quietly, no drama, no explanations, like someone tossing out an old letter that no longer makes sense to keep. No one else needs to know because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Every memory you release in silence opens up space to live lighter, clearer, and more fully in the now. Lesson 11. Short-term thinking holds you back. Picture this. You tell yourself you want to save money, that having a little financial cushion would feel great, but every morning you give in to that $5 coffee. You know, the one with the perfect foam and that little cookie on the side. And no, it's not just the coffee. It's binge-watching that series until 3 in the morning when you know you've got an early start the next day. Or that impulse buy online that, let's be honest, you barely use afterward. Instant gratification feels good, we know that. But in the end, my friend, it comes at a cost. Living only for the now is like planting flowers in soil without roots. At first, they look beautiful, full of life. But one gust of wind, and they wither. What seems to fuel your happiness in the moment often leaves you feeling empty later on. And yes, I know. Life is about the now, but it's also about the after. You can't find peace if every decision you make today sows anxiety for tomorrow. Nir Eyal, author of Indistractable, is crystal clear on this. He talks about how to beat that constant need for immediate gratification. In his own life, Nir sets up barriers. He doesn't keep his phone within reach at all times, he plans breaks, and most importantly, He asks himself whether each decision moves him toward the person he wants to become. Simple, right? Because resisting the immediate isn't punishment, it's self-care. It's a gift you're giving to your future self. So now, let me ask you something you might not want to hear. What would your 5 years from now self think of the decisions you're making today? Think about it. That version of you who dreams of a different job, better health, a personal project, would they thank you or ask for explanations? I know it's easy to think right now, but I deserve this. Just this once. But, my friend, that's what steals your peace. Time to cut those excuses. Flip the script. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I deserve this now, answer back with, this builds me later. It's not about stopping the fun, it's about choosing how you enjoy it. Sometimes the real pleasure is in knowing how to wait. Ready to eliminate that short-term mindset? Try this, the delay challenge. Next time you feel an impulse, pause, delay it by just 10 minutes. Only 10. It sounds small, but it's enough to snap your brain out of autopilot. Picture yourself on the couch, watching a series, and suddenly you crave that chocolate bar hidden in the kitchen. You can almost taste it. But before you get up, wait. 10 minutes. Stand up, stretch, drink some water. After that time, ask yourself, do I still really want it? Or was it just boredom dressed up as hunger? Same goes for that online purchase, the shirt, the gadget you don't actually need but feels essential in the moment. Stop. Leave it in the cart, step away, go for a walk, switch tasks, disconnect a little, then come back and decide if you still want to spend that money. Letting go of that quiet, short-term thinking that holds you back is one of the best ways to find peace. Because peace doesn't come from giving in to every impulse. It comes from knowing you're building something bigger than the moment. Like Marcus Aurelius said, life is lived in the present but built for the future. And that building starts with the small choices you make today. So next time that little pleasure tempts you, the one you know doesn't really serve you, remember this. It's not a sacrifice, it's an investment in your peace. One that doesn't make noise but leaves a lasting mark. Lesson 12. Do you really need to be this busy? Are you one of those people who, when someone asks, how are you? You answer without thinking, busy? Like it's a badge of honor, like being swamped somehow earns you extra life points. My friend, let me tell you something. Being busy is not the same as moving forward. Sometimes it's just running in circles like a hamster in its wheel, giving it your all, sweating, exhausted, but stuck in the same spot. And I get it. I've fallen into that trap too, believing that if I packed every minute of my day, I was winning. More meetings, more projects, more to-do lists. Until one day I realized no, that wasn't bringing me peace. It was bringing me more stress. It's like trying to cram all your dirty laundry into the washing machine at once, thinking you'll get it done faster. Spoiler alert, the laundry comes out a mess, and so do you. Seneca warned us about this centuries ago. He said, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And it's true. If you think about your day-to-day, how much of that time is actually spent on things that nourish you, that move you closer to what you want. And here, I remember Matteo. Remember him? The electrician from our story at the beginning. He also thought he had it all under control, that a packed schedule was a sign of success, until his body told him otherwise. And you don't want to get to that point, trust me. It was that very quote from Seneca that opened his eyes. Peace, my friend, isn't found in more activity. It's in the quality of your activity. Do you think Seneca ever said, I didn't have time to reflect today because I was answering emails? No, he understood something we've forgotten. Life isn't an endless to-do list. Do you know why being so busy doesn't bring you peace? Because multitasking is a lie, plain and simple. You think you can handle everything, but really, you're just jumping from one thing to another, leaving scraps of attention everywhere. Cal Newport, who's studied this deeply, puts it clearly. Real productivity comes from focus, from doing fewer things but doing them well. He calls it deep work, and trust me, it's not just a trend. It's the way out of that constant noise, and the way to finally make real progress. So how can you cut out the tasks that aren't bringing you peace? First, do a weekly inventory. Yep, grab a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and write down everything you did. Then ask yourself, did this bring me closer to what I really want? Or was it just filling space? Because a lot of things seem urgent, but they're not. Next, try something Newport calls reverse time blocking. Don't start your week by cramming in all your work tasks. No, start by blocking out your rest time. Your moments to disconnect, to breathe. Then fit the rest around that. Because if you don't protect that time for yourself, everything else will swallow it up. And finally, here's a small but powerful trick. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I'm busy," swap it for, "This is my priority right now." And then feel if it's true. Is that meeting, that email, that commitment really your priority? If it's not, something's out of balance. Letting go of that silent obsession with always being busy is one of the most powerful steps toward finding calm. Peace doesn't come when you fill your calendar. It comes when you leave space to listen to what your life really needs. Because sometimes the biggest step forward is to stop, to be still, to breathe, and to realize that in that empty space, that's where real clarity begins. Lesson 13, the endless scroll that steals your life. You open your phone just to check the time, and 20 minutes later you're watching videos of cats playing piano or people dancing at a wedding halfway across the world. How did that happen? That's how the digital trap works. You don't fall into it all at once. It creeps in slowly, like getting caught in an invisible web. And by the time you realize it, time has slipped right through your fingers. The most ironic part? Most of us don't even notice. We check notifications in the bathroom, in bed, in the middle of conversations. And when someone asks how many hours we spend on screens each day, we always say less than the truth. It's like our brain erases those moments so we don't feel guilty. But my friend, the phone has become a black hole for time and energy. The Stoics didn't have screens, but they understood the danger of living distracted. Seneca wrote it plainly. It's not that we have too little time, it's that we waste so much of it. And really, is there a better example than spending an hour scrolling without remembering a single thing we saw? For the Stoics, the present moment was the only thing we truly owned. Every minute lost in distractions was a minute stolen from a meaningful life. Today, science backs this up. Tristan Harris, a former Google designer and now one of the strongest voices warning about the dangers of tech, explains that social media is designed like a mini casino. Every notification is like a slot machine. You never know what you'll get, and that uncertainty hooks you. It's no accident that unlocking your phone gives you a tiny thrill, even if it's just to see a like. That hit of dopamine keeps you stuck in the loop. But the real problem isn't the device itself. It's what we miss because of it. How many meals have you spent staring at your screen instead of really listening to the person in front of you? How many nights have you lost precious sleep to just one more video? And worst of all, how many times have you compared your life to the filtered, polished versions you see online? That's when the digital trap becomes even more cruel. It doesn't just steal your time. It chips away at your self-worth. I'm not telling you to ditch technology. I'm saying set boundaries. Make a commitment to create phone-free zones, the dinner table, the bedroom, the first few minutes of your morning. Start small. It'll feel weird at first, but soon you'll feel the relief of being fully present. Another powerful idea? Try a digital fast. 1 day a week without social media, even just a half day to start. At first, you'll reach for your phone out of habit, but then something unexpected appears: peace. Your mind clears, your focus sharpens, and time takes on a different rhythm. You can also reclaim how you use your tech. Instead of being a slave to your notifications, decide when you check in. Turn off alerts, mute group chats, make your phone a tool, not a boss. Because every time you react to a ping, you're handing over control of your attention and time. And if you really think about it, that's the most valuable thing you have. The digital trap is like an open fridge. Every time you walk by, you peek inside, even if you're not hungry. And the worst part? You end up snacking on junk that doesn't feed or fulfill you. The moment you choose to close that door, quietly, you take back control. Your time becomes yours again, not your phone's, not an app's. Remember, the Stoics stood for a conscious life, focused on what matters. We can't let a screen dictate how we spend our hours. By quietly eliminating digital excess, you reconnect with what truly matters: your peace, your relationships, your purpose. My friend, if you've made it this far, it's because you're ready. You've seen how letting go of what weighs you down changes how you live. And I know you're feeling like just one piece is missing, that final click that ties it all together. Lesson 14. Turn off the negative filter in your mind. There are filters that make things better, like the ones on photos. They smooth out the dark circles under your eyes, give your skin that porcelain glow. But then there's the opposite filter, the one that sneaks into your mind without asking, twisting everything to look worse than it is. It's like walking through life with fogged-up glasses, smudged with negative thoughts. No matter what happens, you always spot the flaw, the stain, the thing that's missing. Even on a good day, even when you achieve something important, that filter whispers, "It could have been better." And my friend, that is exhausting. Picture this: you finish a project at work, people congratulate you, but instead of enjoying it, you think, they're just being polite. Or you go to the gym, beat your personal best, but you tell yourself, yeah, but I'm still the slowest one here. You take it to the extreme, even at home. You cook a meal, but instead of savoring it, you think, it could have used more salt. That negative filter never rests. It always finds something to criticize, especially about you. And this isn't just perception. There are studies showing how this kind of inner dialogue wears you down for real. Psychologist Ethan Kross demonstrated that speaking harshly to ourselves activates the same brain areas as physical pain. Yes, literally. It's like giving yourself a hit. Sounds harsh, right? But here's the good part. Kross also found that if we change the way we talk to ourselves, shifting toward a more compassionate dialogue, the brain responds differently. The body relaxes, stress levels drop. It's not magic, it's science. And you don't need grand motivational speeches. Just start treating yourself the way you'd treat your best friend. Marcus Aurelius said it in his own way: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What was he telling us? That your negative thoughts aren't a wall. They're the raw material you can use to build a new way of seeing things, if you choose to. So, my friend, how can we turn off that negative filter? Let's do it together, step by step. First, try the reinterpretation exercise. Every time a negative thought pops up, stop and write down 3 alternative versions of that same thought. If you catch yourself thinking, "I'm no good at this," flip it with, "I'm learning," "Today was just a tough day," or "I'll get better if I keep at it." It'll feel forced at first, but it's like changing glasses, uncomfortable at the start, but clearer over time. Second, play defense lawyer. Defend the good in you like your life depends on it. If you catch yourself saying, "I always mess up in meetings," pull out evidence in your favor. "Last time I shared an idea people liked. I've improved at this. People trust me." Remind yourself, you are not your mistakes. Third, practice uncomfortable gratitude. Think of that situation or person you're always criticizing. Make the effort to find something good there. Maybe it's that coworker who won't stop talking, but always shows up on time, or that gloomy day. But it gives you permission to stay in without guilt. It feels awkward, I know, but it's like finding a ray of sunshine in the middle of a storm. There's always something. No one else is going to turn off that filter for you. No one else is inside your head, listening to that constant noise you allow. So, let me ask you, how much longer are you going to keep letting yourself spiral into the worst version of you? How much longer will you let that voice convince you you're not enough? Because the peace you're searching for won't come when everything outside improves. It'll come when you decide to speak to yourself differently. Start today, quietly, without telling anyone. Just you and this new way of seeing yourself. Believe me, when you change the tone you use to talk to yourself, you change the story you tell yourself. And with that, you change your life. Lesson 15, less stuff, more freedom. We have this habit of accumulating and accumulating. Picture all your belongings as heavy anchors tied to your ship. Drawers full of clothes you never wear are anchors that keep you from setting sail. Shelves crammed with books you never read are weights holding you back. Those boxes of forgotten memories are chains that keep you tied to the past. You live surrounded by so many things that your ship gets stuck, unable to move forward. My friend, if you want to stop feeling weighed down and start moving toward a lighter life, you have to release these anchors and set your ship free. But don't get me wrong. It's not about living with nothing, but about getting rid of what doesn't add value to your life, of what ties you down instead of setting you free. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Instead of chasing more and more, the Stoics prioritized the essential. Imagine Epictetus in his simple home without luxuries, but with an inner peace most of us can only dream of. His freedom didn't come from what he owned, but from what he had let go of. A perfect example of this is Dave Bruno, the creator of the 100 Thing Challenge. He decided to live with only 100 belongings. At first it sounded crazy. Imagine having to reduce everything you own to just 100 items. What did Dave do? He sat down, made an inventory of everything he had, and began to get rid of what didn't add value to his life. He donated clothes he never wore, sold gadgets collecting dust, and let go of things he never really needed. In the end, he was left with only the essentials, what he truly needed and what brought him joy. The result? His mind felt clearer, the stress of clutter vanished, and he felt freer than ever. And you? Do you want to get rid of everything unnecessary in your life and achieve that mental freedom? First, start with a small area. It could be a drawer, a closet, or your desk. If it's a drawer, you'll probably find a mountain of stuff. Old cables, pens that don't write, papers you don't even remember why you kept. It's overwhelming, right? Take a moment to ask yourself, is this necessary, or is it just taking up space? If you don't use it or it doesn't make you feel good, it's time to let it go. Trust me, each item you eliminate is one less weight on your mind. Second, set a 1 in, 2 out rule. For every new item you bring into your life, get rid of 2 old ones. Let's say you buy a new shirt. Before you put it away, pick 2 shirts you no longer wear and donate or recycle them. This simple rule makes you think twice before accumulating unnecessary things and keeps your space balanced. What do you think? Will you try it out? Share it in the comments, and with the support of the community, it'll be easier for you. Remember, my friend, less stuff, more freedom. Get rid of what you don't need and create space for what truly matters. Stop mindless accumulation, and you'll discover a lighter, fuller life with the peace that only the essential can bring. Start now and sow the seeds of freedom in your life. Lesson 16. Run your own race. Let me tell you the story of a young boy who faced more challenges than most could imagine. In school, his teachers saw him as restless, struggling to focus. But there was one place where he found peace: the water. Every morning before the sun rose, he would dive into the pool with one goal: not to beat anyone else, but to be better than the boy who swam there the day before. He didn't pay attention to others' scores or compare himself. He simply focused on his own progress, perfecting each stroke and every breath. Years later, this young boy became Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympic swimmer in history, with 23 gold medals. His secret wasn't about beating others, but beating the version of himself from the day before. If he could achieve so much by focusing on his own growth, what could we achieve if we stopped comparing ourselves and started improving day by day? We all do it. We look at what others have, at what they've accomplished, and suddenly everything we've done feels insignificant. It's a destructive habit that drains our energy, steals our joy, and makes us lose sight of our own path. If we keep measuring our success by someone else's standards, we'll never feel good enough. Why? Because there will always be someone who seems to have more, do more, or be more. It's exhausting, isn't it? Progress isn't fast, but it's steady when you commit to what you can control. That's what the Stoics taught us. The only things we can control are our effort, our dedication, and how we improve each day. Because the real competition is with ourselves. That's what truly matters. Picture this. You're scrolling through social media and you see an old classmate posting pictures of a dream vacation. Then someone else shares an impressive professional achievement. Suddenly you feel small. You ask yourself, why am I not that happy, that successful, that perfect? It destroys you. You forget how much you've grown, the challenges you've overcome, and focus only on what you're lacking. So, how can we break that cycle and focus on our own progress? First, disconnect from digital comparisons. Social media is the perfect place to fuel envy. If you notice that certain profiles make you feel bad about yourself, unfollow them or limit your time on those platforms. Use that time to do something that brings you joy, like making progress on a personal project. Ask yourself, does this help me become better, or does it just make me feel worse? Second, make a list of your personal achievements. It's easy to forget how far we've come when we're always looking forward. Take a moment to write down what you've accomplished in the past months or years. Maybe you got a promotion, learned a new skill, or simply overcame a difficult challenge. Keep that list somewhere visible. It will remind you that your progress matters, even if it isn't as flashy as someone else's. The key is to remember that your path is unique. By letting go of comparisons and focusing on your own progress, you'll find peace and fulfillment. Can you imagine how freeing it would be to live without that burden? Eliminating this habit will give you the chance to become the best version of yourself, in your way and in your time. My friend, the most important race is the one you run with yourself. Every step you take forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to a more authentic and fulfilling life. So tell me, are you ready to stop looking to the side and start enjoying your own journey? 17th lesson, free yourself from heavy energies. Have you heard of Stephanie Joshi? She's an Ironman athlete with a giant dream to complete one of the world's toughest challenges. Every morning she'd rise before the sun to train, facing miles of running, swimming, and cycling. But not everything was as inspiring as it sounds. Someone in her circle kept filling her with doubts. Do you really think you can do it? It's crazy, Steph. You're not built for this. Those words began to seep in deep. The confidence she had worked so hard to build crumbled, and during one training session, she couldn't take it anymore. She quit. For an entire week, Steph was caught in a wave of sadness, doubting herself. Should she keep going or give up? That negative energy had hit her hard, almost making her abandon her dream. Imagine how tough it was for her to wake up each day with the shadow of those words hanging over her. But one day, something changed. She looked in the mirror and decided she couldn't let someone else have so much power over her. Despite the criticism, she chose to keep pushing forward. She wouldn't let that toxic energy dictate her future. And so she returned to training, more determined than ever. In the end, Steph became an Ironman. She crossed that finish line and felt the triumph of achieving the impossible. And here's the lesson, my friend. If she had listened to that toxic relationship, she would have missed out on that moment, that feeling of fulfilling her dream. Think about it. How many times do we let negative energy hold us back? How many times do we give up because someone makes us doubt ourselves? The moral of Steph's story is clear. Draining relationships don't just steal our joy. They can rob us of the chance to live our dreams. It sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. What do you think Seneca would have done in Steph's situation? The great Stoic philosopher understood that our environment is key to maintaining inner peace and strength. Seneca taught that we must distance ourselves from what steals our tranquility, because living surrounded by negative energy is like trying to swim with rocks tied to our feet. Moving forward becomes impossible. And that's exactly what happens when we let toxic people or destructive comments weigh us down. Now think about this. Imagine you have a dream that fills you with excitement, but every time you share your enthusiasm, someone makes you feel like it's a waste of time. You think you can do that? They say, and those words start to lodge in your mind. Days pass, and you begin to doubt yourself, feeling like maybe it's not worth it. That heavy energy doesn't just wear you out, It slowly robs you of the drive to keep going. So, how can you free yourself from this energy and protect your space? First, set clear boundaries. Don't be afraid to protect your well-being. If someone in your life is a constant source of negativity, it's time to have an honest conversation. You don't have to be harsh or confrontational, but you do need to be firm. For example, you could say, "I'd rather not talk about my projects if you can't support me." This not only protects your energy, but also gives you the space to breathe and focus on what makes you happy. Second, fill your mind with positive things. Just as we watch what we eat to stay healthy, we should also be mindful of what we let into our minds. Surround yourself with inspiration, books, podcasts, people who motivate you to be better. Did you know that changing just one habit, like reading something uplifting every morning, can transform your attitude for the whole day? Start with something simple, and you'll see how that positive energy multiplies. At the end of the day, my friend, you have the power to choose who and what you give space to in your life. Heavy energies keep you tied to the ground, while positivity gives you wings. Eliminate the habit of getting stuck in negativity. Dare to free yourself and create an environment that propels you forward. Lesson number 18, let go of the need to please. Picture this. It's Friday, 9 at night. You're finally home in your pajamas, about to start that series you've been dying to watch all week. You hit play, and your phone buzzes. A message. "Hey, could you help me move tomorrow?" And there you are, thumb hovering over the keyboard, typing, "Sure, count me in." But inside, you're screaming. No, you don't want to, not one bit. But you say yes anyway. Why? Because you don't want to look bad. Because what will they think of me? Because you'd rather betray yourself than make someone else uncomfortable. Sound familiar? My friend, that's not being a good person. That's selling your peace for a little approval. And the worst part? This doesn't just happen with favors. It happens when you agree to plans you hate, when you say sure to a meeting you don't have the energy for, when you pile responsibilities on your back that were never yours to carry. Every yes you give just to please someone else is a no you give to yourself. Plain and simple. And even if it doesn't make noise on the outside, inside, it chips away at your peace. You know who really gets this? Jay Akunzo, a speaker who talks about creating from authenticity, not from trying to fit into someone else's mold. He says that every time you try to please everyone, you lose the only voice that truly matters, your own. Because pleasing is easy. You adjust, you smile, you say what people want to hear. But staying true to yourself? That takes courage. And here, Stoicism gives us another brilliant key. Epictetus said, "If you want to be invincible, don't get involved in what doesn't depend on you." And guess what? What others think of you, that's out of your control. You can give your best, but you can't control whether they like it, whether they approve, whether they applaud. Trying to is like chasing smoke. The harder you reach for it, the more it slips away. Now, let me propose something. A 24-hour challenge. Tomorrow, from the moment you wake up, say no to one small thing that doesn't bring you peace. It can be as simple as not answering that message right away. Then, when you get to work, keep practicing. Someone offers you an extra task that isn't yours? Say no. Someone invites you for coffee when you'd rather be alone? Smile, thank them, and say no. And look, I know you can't say no to everything, that's not realistic. But before every yes, ask yourself, am I saying yes to this, or am I saying no to myself? Because if it's the second one, you've got your answer. Trying to please everyone is like trying to fill a colander with water. No matter how much you pour in, it always empties out. Because it'll never be enough. There will always be someone expecting more, asking for more. But you do have a limit. And every time you push past that limit just to please others, you drain yourself even more. Letting go of that quiet need to please is like shutting off a leaky faucet in your mind. That constant drip that keeps you restless, that fills your head with, what if they don't like it? What if they get mad? What if they think less of me? When you shut off that faucet, when you decide your peace is more important than someone else's approval, you start to hear something far more valuable: yourself. My friend, I'm not asking you to change the world, just to stop betraying yourself in order to fit into it. Because right there, in that silence that remains when you say no without guilt, that's where your true peace begins. Lesson 19, the trap of when it's ready. Has this ever happened to you? You're writing an email, you reread it once, then again, change a word, delete another, and still you hesitate to hit send. 15 minutes go by and you're stuck on the same sentence, like the fate of the universe depended on that message. Now tell me, can you imagine Seneca spending half an hour editing an email? Of course not. He probably would have written it, sent it, and gone back to his day without a second thought. Because the Stoics understood this, perfection is a mirage, and chasing it is the most elegant way to do nothing. That's the real problem. We confuse perfection with progress. We think that if it's not flawless, we shouldn't share it. And so days go by, then months, sometimes years, and nothing ever sees the light. Perfection is like a shadow that stays just one step ahead. The more you chase it, the further it gets. Meanwhile, the only thing that is real, your life, remains frozen. It's time to eliminate that trap from your life. Listen to what Marcus Aurelius wrote. Even nature is full of imperfections, and still, it moves forward. The sea never has identical waves. A tree never grows in a straight line, and yet they both fulfill their purpose. If nature doesn't need to be perfect to keep going, why do we demand the impossible from ourselves? That's how the trap of when it's ready works. It's fear in disguise, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But here's the paradox. By waiting for perfection, you end up failing at the one thing that really matters: starting. And don't think it only happens to you. Even the most successful people fall into that trap. Do you know John Mayer? One of the most celebrated guitarists and songwriters in the world. He's talked in interviews about how for a long time, he was stuck in perfectionism. He'd spend hours fine-tuning a song, making sure every chord and lyric was just right. The problem? It never felt ready. There was always something to tweak, some detail to fix, something that didn't sit well. That fear of not getting it perfect kept him stuck. Dozens of songs sat unfinished, written, recorded, but unheard. Until he learned a powerful truth: a song doesn't need to be perfect to reach people. What matters isn't technical perfection, it's emotion, it's heart. When he let go of the obsession and started releasing music more freely, he realized what he once saw as imperfections were actually what made his music real, human. That decision to share instead of waiting was what helped him grow into the artist who inspires millions today. And you? Want to be like John Mayer too? Don't worry, you don't need a miracle plan. You just need to move. Next time you feel something isn't perfect, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I release this as it is? Will anyone really analyze every comma in that email? Every detail of that project? Probably not. And even if someone does, you're still moving forward. Another key? Learn by doing. You won't figure out how to improve something by spinning it around endlessly in your head. You have to put it out there. It's like swimming. You can read all the books, watch tutorials, study the technique, but until you get in the water, you won't learn a thing. Here's a practical tip. Set a deadline and stick to it, even if it's not perfect. If you're writing something, choose a date and publish it. If you're starting a project, take the first step before the deadline hits. It's better to have something imperfect that exists than a perfect idea that never leaves your mind. And just for fun, think about all those drafts sitting on your phone, messages you never sent because something was missing. Do you really think Marcus Aurelius would have spent an entire afternoon editing a WhatsApp message? Because for him, the goal wasn't perfection, it was purpose, truth, action. Perfection is like the carrot tied to a stick. You run and never reach it. But every time you choose to act, even without all the pieces in place, you quietly remove one more chain that's been keeping you stuck. You take back your freedom, and you start moving toward what really matters. Now, I want you to jump in. Share in the comments. What project, idea, or dream Have you been keeping on hold for too long, waiting for it to be perfect? This might be your moment to let it go and finally bring it to life. And remember, nobody in this community expects you to be perfect. What we value is that you take the step. Lesson 20. Eliminate constant doubt, dare to decide. How many times have you wanted to make a decision, but the fear of getting it wrong held you back? That moment when you doubt yourself, your mind swirling with questions. What if I regret it? What if it's not the right choice? It's like standing at a crossroads in a thick fog, unable to see what lies ahead. My friend, that fear isn't just an obstacle. It's a harmful habit that ties us to inaction. Why? Because by not deciding, we're choosing to let life pass us by, like spectators of our own story, watching others move forward while we stay stuck, doubting. Listen, standing still out of fear of making a decision comes at a high cost. Every time you hesitate and let an opportunity slip away, you're choosing to let life move on without you. Opportunities don't wait, and when we let them go, they might not come back. Insecurity keeps us trapped, preventing us from moving forward, and that only leads to a life full of regrets. Believe me, there are times when we have to dare to decide, even if we don't have all the answers. Because, let's face it, we never will. Psychologist Patricia Ramirez explains it clearly. The fear of making mistakes is like a backpack full of rocks we carry everywhere. It drains us, slows us down, and keeps us from enjoying the journey. She tells us that eliminating this habit is essential for moving forward. How? By giving ourselves permission to fail, because mistakes aren't failures. They're lessons. Do you see? Clinging to fear only keeps us stuck while life continues on. But Marcus Aurelius said it best. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Think about that for a second. If we fill our minds with doubts and fears, our happiness becomes a mirage, always out of reach. Marcus Aurelius believed in acting with wisdom, but without being paralyzed by fear. Imagine how he would act, calmly assessing what he could control and letting go of what he couldn't. Now, I ask you, what about you? Do you focus on what could go wrong, or do you take the step with what you know now? Picture this. You have the chance to take a trip that could change your life. A journey where you might discover new passions, make unexpected connections, or simply find a new version of yourself. But there's a problem. Your bad habit of indecision. You spend days thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if it's not the right time? What if things don't turn out as I hope? You get stuck in that cycle, doubting, as the deadline to accept the opportunity approaches. And just like that, the trip, that great adventure that could open up a whole new world, starts to slip away. All because fear and indecision have you paralyzed. But what if you could eliminate the fear and insecurity? Don't know how to do that? Don't worry, I'm going to give you 3 steps to help you break free. First, make friends with mistakes. Instead of seeing them as enemies, embrace them as part of the process. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I make a mistake? Most of the time, the consequences aren't as serious as we imagine. Make a list of the things you've learned from your past mistakes. You'll see that every failure made you stronger. Second, decide quickly on the small things and thoughtfully on the big ones. Practice making quick decisions on simple things, like what to eat or which book to read. This trains your mind to act without fear. For important decisions, set a reasonable time limit. Don't get stuck thinking forever. For example, if you have to choose between 2 job offers, give yourself a week to weigh the pros and cons, then make a choice. And third, visualize the worst and best case scenarios. Take a moment to imagine the worst that could happen and how you'd handle it. Then, picture the best possible outcome. This gives you perspective. Sometimes, we just need to see that we're more prepared than we think. What would you do if you weren't afraid? And now, since we're being honest, let me share the mantra that guides my life. If you're scared, do it scared. Engrave it in your mind and remember it the next time you're about to fall into your cycle of indecision. Because every decision you make is a step toward the life you want. Lesson 21. Break the approval chain. How many times have you found yourself making decisions just to please others? Maybe you agreed to plans you didn't want, just because you feared being judged, or you bit your tongue in a conversation to avoid upsetting someone. Let's be honest, my friend. Living to seek others' approval is exhausting. It traps you in an invisible cage and keeps you from the life you truly want to live. After everything you fought for and overcome, do you still believe you need to prove your worth to everyone? Spoiler, you don't. Seeking external validation is a habit we must eliminate now if we want to be authentic and free. Think about this. Why do we give so much power to others' opinions when we know we'll never be able to control what they think? That's the key, control. Epictetus made it clear centuries ago, don't worry about things outside your control. And guess what? Other people's opinions have never been within your control. The problem is this habit, although it seems harmless, acts like an anchor that keeps us trapped in the harbor, preventing us from sailing toward where we truly want to go. According to a study by Avance Psychologos, constantly seeking approval turns us into puppets, controlled by strings that others pull. It affects our self-esteem and stops us from making decisions that reflect who we really are. Because if we always need others to validate our choices, when will we ever live authentically? The study shows that once we lift that anchor, we gain clarity. Can you imagine how freeing it would be to set sail without needing anyone's approval? So, how can we break the approval chain? First, learn to say no without guilt. Yes, it's tough, I know. But think about all the times you've said yes just to avoid someone's disappointment or judgment. You might feel good in the moment, but later, you regret it. Next time someone asks you for something, ask yourself, does this benefit me or drain me? If it doesn't add anything positive, say no firmly and kindly. I'm sorry, but I can't. Trust me, you'll learn that saying no is an act of self-respect. Second, make a list of your values. What really matters to you? It could be honesty, freedom, or even time with your family. Knowing your values helps guide your decisions. When you feel tempted to seek someone's approval, ask yourself, does this choice align with my values? If the answer is no, adjust your course. Living by your principles will give you the confidence you're looking for. Lastly, be compassionate with yourself. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. The next time you're overly concerned about what others think, remember that they mess up too. Treat yourself with the same understanding. This will not only make you feel better, but remind you that your worth isn't determined by others' opinions. So tell me, are you going to keep letting the need for approval control your decisions? Or are you ready to break free and start living the life you choose? I'd love to know what you think. If this resonated with you, share it in the comments. I'm breaking the chain. Let it be our rallying cry, a reminder that each of us has the power to be authentic without needing anyone else's validation. Lesson 22. When your emotions control you. Have you ever felt like your emotions have taken over? As if your mind were a ship without a rudder, caught in the middle of a storm. You're not alone. We've all been there, trapped in that feeling of not being in control of our reactions. And my friend, when we let unchecked emotions rule our lives, we end up drifting further away from what we truly want. Think about it. Not having our mind at the helm is like letting a frightened passenger drive our car. We're bound to crash. Living without managing our emotions comes at a high cost. Mark Brackett, an expert in emotional intelligence, explains that the lack of emotional control not only affects our mental health but also our relationships and decisions. How many times have we said something we later regretted because we were angry or anxious? Brackett urges us to ask, what if we could change that? Because being ruled by emotions leaves us exhausted and lost, as if we're swimming against the current and getting nowhere. Now, imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, and someone cuts you off without signaling. Your blood starts to boil, and before you know it, you're shouting things your mother wouldn't be proud to hear. Or worse, you grab your phone and furiously type out a rant to your friends about how messed up everything is. What do you think Marcus Aurelius would do in this situation? Do you think he'd rush to send a messenger pigeon? It's funny to picture, isn't it? A Roman emperor sitting in his war chariot, taking a deep breath and thinking, "This is beyond my control, breathe and move on." For him, emotional control was the key to living peacefully, even in the modern chaos we experience today. Want to know how you can change this habit and take control of your own rudder? Then follow these tips. First, breathe before you act. It sounds simple, but it works. When you feel a strong emotion taking over, pause and take 3 deep breaths. This gives your mind the time it needs to process the situation without reacting impulsively. For instance, the next time you feel yourself about to explode in anger, try this. You'll be amazed at how a few seconds of pause can change everything. Second, identify the emotion. Name it. Is it frustration, fear, sadness? Mark Brackett suggests that labeling our feelings gives us power over them. Saying, "I'm frustrated because I'm not being heard," allows you to handle the situation more rationally. Make this a daily habit. Ask yourself how you're feeling and why. This simple exercise will give you more control over your reactions. And third, reframe your thinking. Instead of saying, "Everything is going wrong," try something more constructive. "This is tough, but I can find a solution." Marcus Aurelius believed in changing our perspective to manage life wisely. Practicing this every day can transform how you respond to challenges. Remember, my friend, if you don't learn to manage your emotions and let them control you, life will take you down paths you don't want to follow. It's time to eliminate the bad habit of letting emotions rule your day. Take the helm right now and regain control. Lesson 23. Stop playing the victim. Let me ask you something. Do you still say things like, "It's just impossible with my boss"? Or maybe you drop a, "With this family, there's no way to live in peace"? Don't worry, my friend. I used to do it too. Playing the victim is comfortable, cozy even. Like that old blanket that doesn't warm you anymore but is hard to let go of. It gives us an excuse, a reason to stay put, to avoid taking risks. But let me tell you something. The comfort of playing the victim comes at a price, and it's not cheap. You pay with your freedom, with your peace, because as long as you keep pointing the finger outward, the real problem will stay right there, inside. Think about that moment when you didn't apply for the promotion you wanted. You said, "What's the point? I already know how the system works." But was it really the system? Or was it fear disguised as resignation? Because it's easier to blame the boss, the government, the weather, than to look inside and admit that maybe, just maybe, you lacked the courage to act. Epictetus, who knew more about this than anyone, said, "Don't expect the world to be fair. Focus on being virtuous yourself." And he wasn't saying that from the comfort of an office chair, trust me. This was a man who was born a slave, who knew suffering firsthand, who had been beaten down by life and by men. Imagine him telling fate, "Not today, I'm too sore to suffer." But my friend, the man didn't even have full use of his leg. That wasn't an option, because Epictetus understood that he couldn't control what happened to him, but he could control how he responded. And in that response was his freedom. So do you want to know how to break out of that victim mode? I'm not going to give you the typical think positive line. I know that's not enough. Let's get practical, something you can do today, quietly, without announcing it to the world. Just for you. Start with your body. Sounds silly? I'm telling you, it's not. When you're in victim mode, pay attention to how you hold yourself. Slumped shoulders, eyes downcast. Change it. Pull your shoulders back. Open up your chest. Take a deep breath. Your body reacts before your mind does. Change your posture, and you'll feel your energy shift. Next, make a list of the excuses you use, the phrases you repeat without even realizing. That's just how it's always been. I can't. It's too late. Write them all down and look them straight in the eye. Now, erase them. Literally. Cross them out with a marker. Scribble over them until you can't read them anymore. And then, don't leave the list empty. Replace those phrases with ones that push you forward. If you used to say, "I can't," swap it for, "I'm going to try my way." If you said, "It's too late," change it to, "It's never too late if I start today." It might sound simple, but those little phrases shape the way you see your life. And if you ever doubt, remember this. You can't choose what happens, but you can choose not to sit on the sidelines watching your life from the stands. What if you stepped onto the field? You might not control the scoreboard, but at least you're playing. And playing, my friend, is what gives you back control. You've got to quiet that inner voice telling you that you can't, that it's not your fault, that the world is unfair. Eliminate that victim role, quietly, without making noise. And you'll see how, little by little, that peace you've been searching for starts to break through. Because no one's going to give you permission to take the reins. Only you can do that. Lesson 24. Let go of those who put out your fire. Haven't you noticed how some people come into your life like a breath of fresh air, while others seem to suck the oxygen right out of the room? Isn't it strange how 10 minutes of conversation with some people can feel like a warm hug, and with others that same time turns into a heavy weight? If you think about it, it's no coincidence. Every relationship you have shapes your energy, your mood, and even the way you see yourself. And here's the trap. We often get used to the company that drains us as if it were normal. The Stoics understood this very clearly. Your environment is never neutral. It either lifts you up or pulls you down. Seneca, in one of his letters, wrote that we should surround ourselves with those who make us better. He wasn't talking about luxury or convenience. He meant virtue. Because what's the point of sharing your life with someone who dims your light, fills you with doubt, and drags you down? For the Stoics, the wrong company isn't a minor issue. It's a direct obstacle to inner peace. And if you really think about it, how many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling like you lost more than you gained? Picture yourself leaving a dinner with friends or a talk with a relative. Nothing dramatic happened. No shouting, no arguments. But you head home feeling drained, with that lingering sense that nothing you do is ever enough. Sound familiar? That's the trap. It's not the big explosions, but the small, constant comments that slowly put out your fire day after day. Look at what happened with Ed Sheeran, for example. Early in his career, a lot of people close to him told him his voice wasn't good enough, that he'd never fill a stadium, that he didn't look like a star. He could have stayed in that circle that held him back, but he chose the opposite. He quietly walked away from those opinions and surrounded himself with musicians and producers who believed in him. Today, after years of hard work, not only does he fill stadiums, he inspires millions. His success didn't come from arguing with everyone. It came from choosing who to walk beside. Now you might be asking yourself, so how do I eliminate those people? The answer is often simpler than you think. Start by listening to your body. Most of the time, you don't need deep analysis. Just notice how you feel after being with someone. If you walk away with a tight chest, a heavy head, or a strange kind of exhaustion, it's because your body is already screaming what your mind is trying to justify. From there, the key is to create distance, quietly. You don't need long explanations or dramatic speeches. Small gestures are enough. Accepting fewer invitations, taking longer to reply, not always being available. Bit by bit, you start building an invisible wall that protects your energy. It's the same thing many content creators have shared publicly. Logan Paul, for example, admitted he had to step back from several friends in the industry who only wanted to use him. There were no confrontations. He just stopped showing up when they called. And over time, his circle got smaller. But the quality grew. And here's something we often forget. You don't need a crowd to feel supported. Sometimes all it takes is one person who truly listens, who reminds you of your worth when you've forgotten it. Think about it. What would you rather have? 5 acquaintances who talk behind your back, or one friend who celebrates your wins like they were their own? That one bond can give you more strength than 100 empty relationships. Marcus Aurelius put it in simple terms. Don't waste your time with people who aren't walking in the same direction as you. And he didn't say it out of disdain, but out of clarity. Every day you spend with someone who puts out your fire is a day you're not walking toward your purpose. Can you really afford that? So try this. This week, take a look around. Notice who fuels your energy and who drains it. Step back from what pulls you down, even if it's just a little. You don't need big speeches, just silence and a clear decision. Every time you choose to step away from what dims your fire, you move closer to the calm and powerful life the Stoics valued so deeply. Lesson number 25. Break the chain of comparison. Picture yourself on a go-kart track, engines revving, everyone ready to race. But instead of looking ahead, you're busy watching the other drivers. One zooms past on your right, another overtakes on your left. And while you're focused on everyone else instead of your own path, you miss the curve ahead and bam, you crash. That's exactly what constant comparison does. It distracts you, slows you down, and worst of all, makes you crash into yourself. Sound familiar? You wake up, open social media, and there it is. Someone in Bali, cocktail in hand, watching the sunset. But what don't you see? Maybe that person is sleeping in a crowded hostel with 20 strangers surrounded by bugs and has been sick all week. But none of that matters because your mind's already telling you their life is better than yours. And now even your morning coffee tastes bitter. One person who learned firsthand that comparison is the perfect recipe for unhappiness was Pete Best. Not ringing a bell? What if I told you he was the original drummer for the Beatles? Yep, he was there. Right before they exploded, before the whole world was singing their songs. But they kicked him out. He was pushed out of the band that went on to change music history. Imagine living with that, watching your old bandmates fill stadiums, become legends, while you sit at home wondering what went wrong. For years, Pete was trapped in that cycle of constant comparison. Every Beatles hit was a reminder of what his life could have been. But then came a turning point. Pete decided to let go of that invisible measuring stick. He stopped looking at the stage where he no longer stood and started building one of his own. He created a family, played music for the joy of it, without needing the fame, without needing to fill stadiums. And when asked if he was happy, he said yes. He hadn't been the fifth Beatle, but he'd found something you can't buy with gold records: peace. He understood what Marcus Aurelius wrote. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And if your thoughts are full of comparisons, you'll struggle to find happiness. Put yourself in this situation. After years, you finally go to one of those classic high school reunions. You show up, laugh a bit, catch up with people. But soon the stories start. One just got back from Japan, another brags about their big promotion, someone else shows off photos of their new house, and you smile, of course. But inside, that uncomfortable murmur starts up. That little voice comparing, measuring, calculating. Why haven't I done something like that? Where did I go wrong? And before you know it, you're not even present anymore. You're trapped inside your head, running through every decision, every missed opportunity. While everyone else keeps chatting, you drift away, not physically, but mentally. You end up in that dark place where everything feels like it's not enough. What could have been a moment to reconnect, to enjoy, turns into some internal interrogation where you never come out winning. If you want to break that invisible chain that ties you to comparison, start by trying a comparison detox. I'm not saying you need to delete all your social media forever, but try something radical for 3 days. Unfollow the accounts that only show perfect lives and stick to the ones that actually bring you value. You'll be amazed at how much quieter your mind gets. And when envy bites, do this. Stop. Acknowledge 3 things you have that maybe that other person doesn't. They don't have to be huge achievements. It could be your sense of humor, your talent for telling stories, or even your epic meme collection. That's wealth too. So here's my challenge for you. If you have to compare yourself, do it with who you were 6 months ago. Measure your own progress, not your distance from others. How were you back then? What things have you achieved that once felt impossible? Letting go of constant comparison is a quiet but powerful step toward inner peace. Because when you stop looking sideways and focus on your own path, you realize the only real competition is with yourself. And in that moment, the noise fades, and calm takes its place. Lesson 26. The prison you build in your own mind. How many times have you told yourself, "I can't," before even trying? That phrase is like an invisible wall you build with your own hands. Epictetus put it bluntly: illness, death, or difficulty aren't the chains that imprison your soul. What truly binds you is what you choose to accept as a limit. In other words, most of the barriers that hold you back don't exist out there. They're built from the inside. My friend, the strange thing is that those barriers are comfortable, because as long as you believe I can't, you don't have to take risks, you don't have to put yourself out there, you don't have to face the possibility of failure. They're like open apps on your computer, using up memory, slowing everything down, but doing nothing useful. Until you close them, you can't use your full energy on what really matters. Quietly letting go of limiting beliefs is like shutting down all those pointless tabs. Suddenly everything runs lighter, faster. And yes, I know, it's easier to live inside a prison you already know, even if it's uncomfortable. New ground feels scary. But don't you realize that every time you accept those mental barriers, you're giving up a piece of your life? Look around you. How many times have you heard someone say they can't change jobs because it's too late? How many times has someone passed up an opportunity with a "that's not for me"? These phrases sound reasonable, but they're bars. No one else put them there. But they weigh like iron. And the most surprising part? When someone dares to question them, they realize the bars were made of paper. The Stoics were relentless on this point. Life isn't defined by what happens on the outside. It's shaped by how we interpret it on the inside. Marcus Aurelius said it simply: our life is what our thoughts make it. You don't need major obstacles to stay stuck. All it takes is one false belief about yourself, repeated for years. So how do you break out of that prison? The first step is to identify the limiting belief that's holding you back. Write it down without filters. I can't learn a new language. I'll never be able to run a marathon. I'm not cut out to start a business. Once you see it on paper, it becomes real, and that's when you can start to question it. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it mine? Or is it something I picked up from someone else? Most of the time, it's a phrase we inherited, a comment that stuck with us and slowly became truth. Then look for evidence that proves the opposite. Have you really never been able to learn something new? Of course you have. You learn to read, to cook, to drive. Are you really incapable of running? Maybe you already ran 5 kilometers once, even if you forgot. Every real example knocks a brick out of the wall. And most importantly, change the story. Next time you think I can't, replace it with I can learn or I can try. It seems like a tiny shift, but it's like turning a key in a lock. The prison door starts to open when you change the language you used to build it. The key is to act, even in small ways. If your barrier is public speaking, start by sharing one idea in a meeting. If it's physical fitness, run for 10 minutes and prove you can. If you think you're not creative, write a few lines a day. You don't have to tear the wall down all at once. Just start making cracks. With every action, you show your mind it was wrong. Now stop for a second. Ask yourself, what would I do tomorrow if I knew this barrier holding me back was just made up? What would change in my life if I stopped saying I can't? Maybe you'd book that trip. Maybe you'd launch that project. Maybe you'd finally take the step you've been postponing for years. My friend, the prison you've built in your mind doesn't have a key, because it's not locked. You're the one holding the door, choosing not to walk through it. But today you can choose differently. You can let go, quietly, of that belief and take one step outside. You don't need to announce it. Just begin. And now I ask you, what's that mental barrier you've been wanting to break for years, and today you decide to start questioning? Share it in the comments, and remember, you're not alone here. We're a community that grows by sharing and supporting each other. I invite you to quietly release everything that's keeping you tied down. Let every moment you choose to let go of what no longer serves you. Perfection, external approval, distractions. Be a door that opens back toward yourself. Remember this: letting go in silence isn't losing. It's creating space for what truly matters. And it's in that clean, clear space where you begin to find the peace, the clarity, and the happiness you've been searching for all along. If you've made it this far, I want you to declare it in the comments with this phrase: I release what holds me back.